Gravity.
Hi, Renee.
We've been talking a lot about this idea of I'm really prepared. I've modeled my thinking. I've got my teaching text. And I sit next to students. And then there's often a really inconsistent evidence of students trying the work that I've been doing. And so I've been thinking a little bit of like, now what, right? I feel like I've taught it. I feel like I've modeled it, and I don't really see consistent application. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I think we have all been there where we get, you said that so nicely and eloquently. I think on our most frustrating days, we're like, why aren't they using what I taught them? Right? I taught it, but they're not doing it. And so, I mean, for me, I actually think about something I learned like well over 20 years ago when I was in school to become a special educator, which is the gradual release of responsibility model. And the idea that a lot of new learning doesn't just happen where I tell it or show it and then students apply it, but they need to have experiences of being read to, reading with us, and then reading by themselves. And so, part of that is having the patience as a teacher and recognizing like, which level of support are students, ready to take on, and where do they need me more? So the idea that like I taught it in a mini lesson, or I taught it in a small group or one-on-one lesson, and then I expect them to master it, if that happens, and sometimes it does, it probably means they were already sort of ready to do this, or they were already able to do it. It's very unlikely that really new learning like sticks that way. So instead, I think about reading to, that's where my read alouds are so important. And so how am I, maybe not just once, but over and over again across time in a unit, modeling my thinking with the same goals in mind, and really showing kids like, how do I do that in those reading to experiences? And then, reading with, a lot of teachers will say to me like, oh yeah, I always skip that part, but that's shared reading. And that is vital. The idea that we're all reading the same text with our eyes on the same part of the text at the same time. And I had, when I was in the classroom at the beginning, overhead transparency. So luckily it's so much easier now. Like we don't
I think I still have some,
special, very expensive transparencies, that instead pretty much anything can be projected on the wall or on a smartboard, and we can read that text together. And so the idea is to not jump around, but stick to those same reading goals that I've been modeling in my read aloud, and now we work on them together in shared reading. So that by the time students are ready to try to work on those goals independently, during independent reading, it's not the first or second or sometimes even third time that they've seen or experienced that. So I think part of that is to recognize that independent reading is like the game, right? It's the ultimate place where like, what can you do totally on your own? But it also isn't the place where we first teach things, right? So we want to make sure we're giving kids enough experiences. And everything I just said can be done whole group, but it also could be done in a small group. So I might do small group read alouds, I might do small group shared reading, and then follow up with students one-on-one. And so that as the teacher is my choice to just figure out like how much support, and taking my lead from them. So some students that might all happen in like across 2 days, and other students that might take 2 weeks or longer. And I think part of it is just having the patience.
So Gravity, to wrap up, I think that there's a couple of things that you're saying are standing out too. Like the idea of, we know it takes like 15 to 20 repetitions of something, right? To learn something, really, to truly independent learning, or like, otherwise you're faking your way through your learning, or it's like a random thing. But this idea is sticking to a few goals over time, right? So having those 3 or 4, teaching goals, or having your planned out, you're preparing your teaching focus over time. So we're not popcorning our teaching. That seems like one thing that will help this. And the other thing is creating lots of like a variety of experiences across the day. So kids are getting lots of different outlets, right? Like listening to text, all eyes on one text, and then trying it on their own. And feeling like it's almost like what we do as athletes, right? We watch our coach, we try it a little together, then we're playing the game. And so that's really helpful. So have a couple teaching focus, a variation of ways to practice it, and a lot of patience.
Yes.
All right, awesome, thanks.